First of all, thank you to all my brave volunteers. Just kidding. Um, so as Beth said, I'm just going to be asking you a few candid questions that we hope the audience will find interesting and enlightening, and hopefully you'll learn something and that you'll recognize a little something about yourself. And I'm just going to do it kind of popcorn style, like just randomly give the questions. So we start with Caroline, and I know because I've met you several times that something that's really important for you is to stay physically active on a regular basis. So could you tell us a little bit about the activities you participate in and any adaptations or modifications you use in order to do the things that you love and how you stay motivated despite the challenges that your disease gives you?
Is that, oh, that's okay, yeah. So I've always loved riding a bike, and when I started having muscle weakness in my lower limbs, I lived in a very hilly part of Vancouver, and I could go somewhere, but I couldn't get home. So I lived at the top of the hill. So thankfully technology helped, and I electrified, and I have an electric bike now. And I'm passionate about riding it as often as I can. Sometimes I overdo it, like I did last weekend. My lovely physio that's here with us today put my shoulder back to where it was supposed to be after overdoing it, but it doesn't really stop me from wanting to ride it because it's just nice being outside. When I started noticing that I had foot drop, I was at a clinic for physio and they have reformer Pilates. And I started doing clinical Pilates, and I do that now still 4 years later, once a week. And then the other missing element for me was resistance training. And I'm the type of person that needs to pay somebody to tell me what to do, and I have to go there because I don't do well on my own. When I try to do something on my own, I hurt myself. So I just recently found an amazing clinic in North Vancouver as well. And I go there 2 to 3 times a week, and I work out with these people. It's small groups, so it's more affordable. And then I have workarounds for the things that I can't do. And the trainers also, under threat of hurting me, know to not push me in certain aspects like shoulder stuff. And then seasonally, I stand up paddleboard, except I'm not really standing up so much anymore, and I put a kayak seat on my paddleboard and I'll sit and paddle. Working out in the yard in the summer a lot. I have a pretty big property on the Sunshine Coast, and it's overgrown with weeds and mowing and constant garden work. So, and that's probably, yeah, that's what it.
Great. Thank you very much. Priscilla, I know that keeping fit's also a big priority for you. And I also know that you have experimented with different kinds of body work to help keep you strong and limber. What have you found to be the most effective methods for your own body?
Hi. Yeah, it's definitely been a trial and error. And some of the things that I heard earlier today really resonated with me from the different speakers. So one would definitely be consistency. So slowly and consistently. When he said you can't crash for this test, that's probably that resonates with me. But ultimately, I've kind of been using my body as like an N=1 experiment, trying various modalities. So what's worked for me really well is, and I had to work my way up to it, is but weightlifting, which I avoided. So I've been diagnosed for about 6 years, and I avoided any sort of real weight beyond like 5 pounds up until say maybe a year ago. And then I went to a trainer and I was like doing weights. I was like, I can't do that. Like, try it. And then after a few months, I felt stronger. I definitely was stronger and I was building muscle and I could see it on all the smart scales. So I think, I don't know what, for me, that's worked. And then I balance it off with stretching. So I like going to a warm room and doing a rehabilitative yoga. And then the two of those just really work well for my body.
Yeah, I think a good point that you made was that it's trial and error for everybody, depending on what you can do and what actually works for your body. So thanks for that. Jories, you guys are so good. You lined up in order of questions. How has living with FSHD changed your daily routines or the way you approach physical activity?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everybody. So the short answer is that I can do much less than I could before. My son is 15 now. When he was 1, we actually carried him in the backpack up routes, just 3 diaper changes. So that was about an hour and a half. Right now, I struggle up routes, but I can still do it. It takes me 2.5 to 3 hours. So you know, it's definitely impacted me. At the same time, I'm getting older. You know, I'm nearly 60, so people all get weaker. I don't have the energy that I had before. So I'm pretty much with what they said is it's trial and error. I also find it hard to discipline myself to do you know, a routine, specific routine every day. So I try to integrate it into my daily life. I still work full time, and I kind of drive my car halfway to work with the bike in the back, and then take my bike off and bike the last part into work. When I meet with friends, I try to do a walk and talk, just rather than just meet for coffee. Those are the things that I do. A wise person, and I can't remember who it was, said to me that, you know, when a person, and I don't get the numbers right, but the idea is that somebody can, a person, all of us, any of us, can kind of do. No, that's not the way to say it. There's about 20,000 things that you could possibly do. You can pick out of 20,000 things you can pick things to do. Now, when you have a disability, you can do only 50,000. So what we tend to do is we focus on the 5,000 things that we can't do anymore. But the irony is that in one's life, you can only do about 12,000 things. So on a continuous basis, I'm trying to see what I can still do and try to focus on that rather than the things that I can do. And then, yeah, from a family life perspective, we're very active. We've always been very active. That's kind of a hard part to figure out. So my wife, she's sitting there. She's still very active. And there's less I can do with her. And I don't want to hold her back. Same with my son and some other things. So, you know, we're trying to find a balance between things we can still do together. We can still kayak, we can bike. You know, hiking is harder. So we try to find a balance where, you know, we can do the things on our own, or with specific people, and do together.
That's a great positive attitude there. And y'all know what the gross grind is. I can't believe you still do it at all. Okay, Darren, how has your understanding of your FSHD changed over time?
I guess I would say this whole transition, like 5 years ago, I was able to walk and carry on daily, and so making this change into a chair and not being able to do things, and it's been strange. So you kind of like live life. I was diagnosed when I was pretty young, like 18 years old, and I never really thought about it, and then it just all of a sudden there was things like you couldn't do, but it got harder and harder, and you know, making that change in your life, letting go, all sort of things. It's probably what it's about. That is for me. Yeah. I don't know. I look everybody brought their notes about it. Great thing.
Still a great answer. I mean, bottom line is it's a process. Yeah, and the hard part is sometimes just letting go of those little things, okay? Janet, you are an able-bodied partner to Darren, in case you guys don't know that. And I'm just wondering, over time, how your role in the partnership has evolved as Darren's condition has progressed. How do you navigate the balance between being a caregiver and a partner?
Hi, when I met Darren, like he was saying he'd been diagnosed, but his family was never really talking about it. I didn't know really anything about it, and then, you know, we had built a life together, and then it started appearing. So I think I don't define myself as a partner and a caregiver, like it's combined to me because the change has been happening as we've been in partnership. So we've just kind of been evolving with it as it comes. You get super creative and I find we just go with it and we don't set any expectations, you know, because we don't know when it's gonna change or how it's gonna change. And that's just how we've managed to keep going. I think it's important though, as a caregiver, that you do take a break from it, that you look after yourself, which I haven't always been doing the best job of. But you have to take time for yourself in order to manage it the best that you can.
Good point. Caregiver burnout is real. Jories, back to you. How do you approach planning for the future, given the progressive nature of this disease?
But just in support of Darren, I don't know if we come across as we have a super clear idea of how this all works. You know, we have I have thought about my answers. So, Darren might be winging it a little bit. I'm kind of improvising a little bit, but I've thought about it. So, but you know, it is a continuous kind of iterative process. You know, where am I today? How much energy do I have? What can I do, etc. Now I forgot the question. I think I have it.
Planning for the future, given.
Oh, yes, planning for the future. So, kind of again, a very structured answer, which I don't always have clear in my mind, but first of all, professionally, so I know it's getting worse condition. I'm still working full time. Last year, I had a team of 120 people. Now I have a team of 7 people because I said I don't want to do this anymore. I want to slow down and ease into retirement, hopefully under my on my accord and not forced through FSHD, but it is kind of accelerating the process. So that's the part on the professional side. On the physical side, we kind of heard it today. You know, I keep exercising, try to do as much as I can, what I still can, and try to integrate it into my my day-to-day life and explore some new things as well as we like I might go to one of your groups if I can. And then on the emotional side, on the mental side, I really try to sleep enough. 8 hours works for me. If I sleep less, I'm a zombie. So rigorously, I try to sleep 8 hours. I try to do some meditation when I can. And you mentioned it, Cheryl, I'm an optimist, so that helps as well. I always try to keep a positive attitude. But the mental side is very important. And it's not always optimistic, right? And then on the financial side, we talked about it briefly today. You know, I want to retire, but we're fairly well off. We live in Vancouver, we live on the North Shore. But still, what if there's a therapy in a few years that isn't covered by our healthcare system? You have to pay $1 million, right? And you're 60 years old. It's like, well, are we going to spend? And it's not going to be a cure. It's going to be something that either slows it down or stabilizes it, possibly, because you know it still has to be invented or it has to be tested. So it's going to be it's not gonna be 100% sure anyway if it happens in the next 5 to 10 years, so. Financial wise, what do we need, where do I need to be to be able to live comfortably, and so financial part is still. If, oh, and then the last one is, we, we live in a beautiful place, 4 stories, or like 4 sets of stairs. The stairs part is getting harder, so that part I'm still in denial. I don't want to downsize yet. It might come one day, but that one I haven't figured out.
Definitely lots to think about for sure. Back over here. Caroline, is there anything other than the physical challenges that you feel are overlooked when somebody has a disability?
Kind of a theme, money. So all of the things that I do to keep myself going, it costs extra dollars. And I, like Jories, have a decent job and I make a good living. We live in a very expensive city. So everything on top of, all the extra things that I want to do, supplements, Pilates, psychological help, like adaptive sports, all these different things that will make us better and not just exist. Like you can just be a lump somewhere and exist, but that's not helping you move forward or trying to move forward as much as you can. So I have a part-time job on top of my full-time job to pay for all of the extra things. But it's kind of a trade-off because those 10 to 15 hours a week that I work extra to make enough money to do all of the fun things, I could probably be looking after myself a little bit better. And so, you know, and I'm 60, so I'm starting to burn out a bit, but I'm kind of in denial about that, so I just keep going. And I'm not sure when that's gonna intersect and slam into each other, but money's a big deal, especially if you're not working anymore. If you don't have the ability to make a decent living and you're on a disability pension, you've got nothing left over to participate in all these things that would be so helpful for us. And taking less money off the medical system and being able to look after yourself better so that you're not having to access as much in the system.
That's a real concern. I think FSHD Society did a study on the actual financial cost of FSHD. Back over to Janet. What would you want other partners or caregivers of people with FSHD to know?
Well, I think the most important thing is the patients, for sure, which patients in menopause is not a great combination. But also, like, we've learned, you really have to plan things out, and that makes our life so much easier. Like, we know it takes Darren now 15 minutes to get from the house into the car and on our way, right? And we've programmed that in now, and it just makes it less stressful for both of us by the time we get in the car. And another huge thing is just reaching out and talking to others and seeing what they're doing and how they're doing. There's so many tricks and trades. Like I was even chatting with Cheryl the other day and shared some things that we do that she was like, oh, that's really interesting. The SEPA again is like an amazing resource for information for those types of things. Like as you're talking about your stairs, we've already put in the stair. And we even have a portable stair climber, so we can go to his dad's house, throw him in that, up the stairs. Like there's so many things out there. So don't ever not do the thing. There is a way. And speaking of Sam Sullivan, I follow a girl on Instagram with FSH, and I saw they were doing a fundraiser of some sort, and they had brought the young lady who had FSH along with them in this contraption that Sam Sullivan has actually developed, and you can rent them at UBC, and they're like a rickshaw type of thing. Well, we rent it, we break it down, we put it in a boat, and we take Darren over to a little island off of Bowen called Boyer, and his cousin has a cabin there, and it is a rock face. And his cousin and I put him in this thing, and we take him up there, we spend the weekend in the cabin. that has an outhouse and we manage, we make it happen. And I think that's truly important. Don't stop doing the stuff and ask for help. People will, you'd be amazed at how many people will help. Just even when you're going in a restaurant. And here you come, right? People are moving their chairs and like society in general is really helpful. So, you know, find the resources and make it happen. Don't waste the time as it keeps changing.
Great answer. Thank you for that. Priscilla, what role does community, online or offline, play in your life with FSHD?
Hi. Community was huge. I would say really significant, and I kind of still get boggled by like how many people did show up in the room today, but where is everyone else and how are they surviving without the community? Because the community was really part of my turning point. I was just really, just got stuck in this negative phase where I was like, my body's gonna waste away. What's the point? I can't help it. It's genetic. And then my doctor made me Google FSHD in Vancouver, and I found a few names. Darren was one of the first people I just randomly emailed out of the blue, and he held space for me, and he met with me and helped just talk to me and help me process what this disease is and what it meant. And then I got introduced to the rest of the group and just learned so many tips and tricks and good attitudes. And then I went beyond that, and online community, it's so broad, because FSHD is a pretty specific disease. And then I was able to find people that I could really identify with, or that were doing really cool things that were improving their scenario. So yeah, community really just gives me the strength, motivation, and the ideas that, okay, I can take my power back, and we're stronger together.
You are indeed. Thanks, Priscilla. Jories, back to you. Many of you know that, or maybe they don't know that you were on the law, I never gonna say the trial, the Lamapo fraud trial, and which was terminated. Can you comment on your feelings about being on that trial and any thoughts you might have about participation in future trials?
Yes, sure. And Dr. Wong is here. He gave a presentation early today, so I was part of his cohort or whatever that's called. So I was on the Faulkner trial for 4.5 years. It started right at the beginning of COVID, so that was kind of a challenge to meet, especially the borders closed. So during the trial, this was out of Seattle. During the trial, I went to Ottawa once because the trial was also run out of Ottawa. So first year was double blind, placebo controlled, so I didn't know if I had it in or not. And then I had 3.5 years of the what's mapping pod, little pill. And then they canceled it in October last year for the reasons Dr. Wang just presented. So overall, it was actually a great experience. Of course, I would have loved it to work. And there's a psychological component here where you want to be on the real thing, not on the placebo. You don't notice that anything is happening. So you're like, oh, I hope I have a placebo, not the real thing. And then after a year, you get the real thing, and then you don't see a lot of change. You're like, okay, well, let's hope it's something that deeper that's happening. So that component is, I think everybody will probably go through that. But the experience on itself is really good. You're treated like very well treated. The team is very supportive. They pay for your trip there, for lodging. I always went there the day before, and then in the morning I would so I drive there. The morning of I would be examined. Get my new medication, new dose of medication, and then drive back to Vancouver. At the beginning, there was a question earlier today about, what you know what you're signing up to. It was very, very clear that no expectations. For you, for us, it's a trial. For me, it's hope. because I hope that I'm part of something that works, but for them to make it very clear, it's a trial. And then when it didn't work, you know, it was like, well, that's too bad, but by now there's 3 or 4 other trials already started. So I kind of, because I was in this process, I understand more how it works. So you know, I got the opportunity to talk to an expert every month or 2 months. So you kind of stay, you're kind of connected to the research. I felt that I was connected to the what's happening on this trial, but also more broader. So I definitely recommend everything that was said earlier today. Make sure you register, try to get on a trial, any trial, because it might help you. And it gives you more hope and more connection with the FSHD community. The one thing that disappointed me was that I never got any feedback from the on the trial from of course Dr. Weinstein didn't know anything, right? But from Faulkner, I never knew whether I was on the placebo or not. And you know, I never got an analysis of my biopsy, my MRIs to see if there was a trend going anywhere. I know they will be sharing the data with the FSHD Society, but it's going to be all anonymized, so I won't be able to find my information. So I would like to see how I'm trending, but unfortunately, even though they did promise at the beginning that they would share some information, so I'm not sure if that's just bad luck or more strategy as well.
Thanks for sharing your experience. Darren, how do you stay emotionally resilient?
I think for me, I kind of ignore it. I know, like Priscilla said, she's involved in the groups and everything like that, and I kind of choose to not really get involved. Just because if I ignore it, then it doesn't really exist. Of course, now you're like, well, I can't do this anymore, I can't do that, and so then you look to your group to say, well, what's working for you, or what you know, how are you dealing with this problem? Right.
Staying emotionally resilient.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to keep doing what you're able to do until you can't do it anymore, you know, it's kind of a disease that takes away things from you slowly, and you just have to come to terms with, you know, okay, well, I can't ski anymore, or I can't do the thing that I used to do and that I was passionate about. I think once you let it go, it gets better somewhat, you know, there's always that looking backwards, but you have to kind of keep looking forward and have hope. And, you know, hopefully, you know, like all the researchers and people that are involved in these societies and stuff that don't have the disease, I mean, you are our hope. There are, you know, people that are our support group, and so to know people that are actually working on stuff like that, it's good, you know. I say, you know, thanks to those people.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing how many incredible people there are working on this disease. So yes, thank you. Janet, what do you admire most about Darren as he navigates his life with FSHD?
Short list.
Darren's strength, like, although muscular dystrophy has taken his physical strength, as you can see, he's still, like, he's so strong in everything else. And I think just how he proceeds with it. I know, you know, he's like, I don't really stay focused on it. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because, you know, we'll take it as it comes. There, you know, you can prepare so much, but it's gonna take you off guard every time the next phase comes, you know what I mean? And so if you dwell on that, I think it becomes overwhelming. So his resilience to that is incredible, and he's the kindest person on the face of the planet. He's never-
Right? Okay, back over to Caroline. As you have, lived with your disease, have you ever experienced what I'm gonna call an aha moment on your journey? Like something that maybe something happened or there was an event or something that caused a shift in mindset for you?
So my entire journey has only been with a person with FSHD since 2020. I was diagnosed in the beginning of the pandemic. Great time. So I was at home, working from home, on the internet way too much, not being able to ignore groups and different things, and I went way into the weeds. So I haven't really had an aha moment yet because I'm still kind of in denial. Because I literally woke up one day with foot drop, and my mother was severely affected with FSHD. She was in a wheelchair when she was, an electric wheelchair when she was my age. I was not a stranger to the disease, but I literally thought that at middle age with no symptoms meant I didn't have it. So when I was diagnosed, it was kind of a gut punch. And I haven't 100% come to terms with it because it's not real yet. Now, I am a person over 60, so some of the things that are happening to me are happening to me because I'm a person over 60, not because I have FSHD. So I'm having a really hard time trying to decide what I should be paying attention to or what I should be, writing off as getting older. So I'm kind of fighting on both sides and deciding not to decide which is FSHD and which isn't. And that leads me to overdoing it because I'm an overachiever to begin with. And so my brain is not letting me recognize what's happening in my body. So I tend to get broken sometimes because I do too much. But I did listen to my psychiatrist and I got a parking pass because I was late for an appointment because I couldn't find parking and I can't run anymore. And by the time I got to the appointment, it was a disaster. And she was like, get a parking pass. I'm like, but I can still walk. She's like, just get a parking pass. So I did that. And I got an AFO so I would not trip and fall on my face. So I am doing some things to recognize my FSHD status, but I haven't given over to it in a way that is allowing me to be mentally healthy. So that's something I need to work on.
Seems like an overwhelming theme is that it's a journey and a process, for sure. How about you, Priscilla? Have you experienced an aha moment and how has that impacted the way you live your life?
Yeah, the aha moment would be, I don't know if it was a moment as much as it was a bunch of different things stacking up on one again, on each other. So much like Carolyn, I was diagnosed just before COVID, and I definitely went through the deep spiral. First, I felt just really hopeless and sorry for myself, but then I got educated. I did go a little bit deep into it, but I think it was good and empowering. And then in some ways, I feel like FSHD was a gift because it just made me see my health differently and see how much I needed to take care of my body. And I started to listen to tons of podcasts and I use my body as an N=1 experiment and meditate and just mindfulness and sleep. And I felt better. And I think maybe the aha was like, I have some control. And I was so angry at my neurologist, but it wasn't her fault. Like she wasn't the answer. It's a team and it's actually really me behind the steering wheel. And that's where the money comes in though, right? Where it's like hiring a physio and hiring this. And when you start to build your own team and take care of your own health, it just started like, I feel better. And then that's when my aha was like, oh, I'm not necessarily going like some of my muscles are going down, but there is an area where I can hold still and have some control. And then I think another aha is one of the neurologists or no, one of the physios said, don't blame everything on FSHD. was like, okay, you know, and I think it helped me get out of my head, like, we're all aging and there's these things happening to us and it's gonna happen to us. You know, maybe it's a little bit more of a sped up rate, for some, or at least. So I felt, okay, I don't know, I have some control and I just gotta stay diligent and just be really healthy, and in theory, it'll have other domino positive effects.
Thank you, great point. Having control over certain things gives you a feeling of empowerment. Okay, last question. I think, how's our time, Beth?
We're okay.
Okay, okay. Okay, last question is for Jories. Can you talk about, some innovations that you've heard about that excite you about future living with FSHD might look like?
I kind of want to start with a comment of what Colin said, about the parking pass. Once I got over the ego thing about having this parking pass displayed, I kind of, used it to my advantage. I'm like, hey, you know, I've got disability that I deal with every day. I'm gonna get the best freaking parking spot in front of the, in front of the, wherever I need to be. And I also noticed that, at the airport, I kind of start limping a little bit more if there's a long lineup, and sure enough, I get the special treatment. So I'm like, you know, it's good to be spoiled a little bit every now and then, because we speak, you know, so hard the rest of the day. So I'm in IT, so I'm a geek. So technology, I love it, and I think we're very lucky in the period of you know, history that we're living right now, because having FSHD with all the technology advances, we can do way more than, for example, my dad who also had FSHD could. You know, shopping, we have Amazon, we can shop online, we can order food online, we can have Siri or Hey Google switch off or on our lights. We have escalators, all kind of other technologies. So I think we're really lucky with where we are. I think this, thinking about this, so there's two and a half things. Hey, Google, sometimes it's too much technology. So there's probably two and a half technologies that I'm excited about. One is, talking about the stairs earlier. I'm really hoping that, you know, my decline and the rise of exoskeletons are gonna be at a sweet spot, so that I can stay in our house and I can continue walking up and down the stairs. And Victor, he's an expert here. He's got it all figured out, which ones are more promising. I don't think there's any yet that we can try easily, but there's some good things there. The other one is obviously the trials themselves, the technology, CRISPR, all the stuff that is way too complex for me. That's really been accelerating in the last 8 years, and I'm really optimistic that before my age and my FSHD kind of declined to a point that I can't take, or if I'm beyond help, I think there'll be something that will definitely help me. And then a little bit about AI. I think the stuff in AI, we're looking at AI a lot at work. I think that, you know, that will help all the above to make it even better and accessible, and more automation for us. I've got this little ChatGPT task that gives me every week, gives me a summary of any FSHD updates that happened in the last week. You know, rather than, you know, Googling it yourself. Very simple. You create a little prompt and say, send me an email every week. That's a small example, but these things are, everything's getting, making it easier for us to live with a disability and to help find a cure.
Yes, lots of innovation on the horizon. Okay, well, I'm done. But I do want to take a moment and thank you guys all for agreeing to participate. You were great to work with, and I hope you guys all enjoy it now.
Yes.
So, thank you. Awesome, that was a great one. Thank you guys so much. Don't we appreciate when we can just commiserate and learn and share? So thank you guys very much.